Here we go. 2020 turkey season opening day. We're getting an early start just because we couldn't sleep. Found a couple birds yesterday scouting strut zones and actually laid eyes on a couple real good birds. So the only issue with the location is we kind of like to hunt a little far back usually, and that spot didn't have at least any fired up birds in it yesterday. But the birds we're on are kind of right up front, so we got to kind of take precaution and get in there as early as we can, and hopefully nobody steps on our toes or whatever. We just got to play our cards right, because if it's anything like yesterday, this bird's fired up and he's strutting right out in the open. So we'll see what happens. Just had them jakes come by, so we got a bird who was pretty fired up this morning. He's about 200 yards this way, I think, so we're gonna try to move on him, and hopefully we can strike him up again. We haven't heard him gobble in probably 15 minutes, but we'll see what happens.
we couldn't strike anything up, so we just moved back to where we were sitting this morning initially, because we're right out in front of where all those tracks and strut marks were that we found yesterday. So we know at some point they're coming here, whether it's the middle of the day, afternoon, evening, we don't know, but we came back here. Unless we hear one hammering somewhere else, we're probably just going to sit here and see what happens.
Well, we should have set up on the other side. We were headed back to the truck, and we looked down the power lines about 250 yards down, and there was a strutter right in the middle of the road, right where, same power lines we've been sitting all day. So they moved off into the woods, so we came down here and set up down the back road, hoping that they're going to push through the woods to get kind of up, because we called to them and they heard us, so hopefully they're making their way this way. Those gobblers were a long ways off, and they just weren't going to even think about coming to us. So they were probably still 400 yards down. They still had their hens with them and everything, and so we just decided to leave them and get back after it in the morning.
As soon as we hear that first bird, we're going to try to close the distance, unlike we did yesterday. Yesterday we kind of played them patient, played the sign, sat on the sign, strut marks. We actually saw the turkey strutting on the power lines and figured that patience would kill that bird, but that's turkey
Not
hunting.
today.
That's turkey hunting for you.
So he's still 50 yards off. I think he's probably in that cypress head on the other side.
very powerful now. I want him to strut up and put his fan towards us so we can leave.
Well, that didn't work out like we wanted it to. We had a bird gobbling at 100 yards at first light. He flew right down, right to where we wanted him to, and he hit the high speeds and went the opposite way of us. We tried to catch up to him. We'd probably chase him for probably close to a mile, I'd say. But he was gone. He had somewhere he wanted to be. He was not interested in our calls whatsoever. So we're gonna go back to where we started. We had another bird gobbling this morning, about 300 yards behind where we set up. So we'll see if we can go get him going again. Well, that didn't work out as planned. We called a little bit here and there, but we never could strike anything else up. So I don't know what it is about them birds out there. But that bird this morning just blew my mind. It did not respond to a call once. The only time it gobbled when we called was when we did a fly down. That could have just been more or less a shock gobble effect. But he was hitting it hard whenever we, hit the locator calls and stuff like that. But he just did not want anything to do with our calls, and we probably walked close to a mile trying to catch up to him, and he just did not want any part of it. So we're gonna be back in there tomorrow, but this time I know if that bird's in that same spot, we'll see what he does. But we're probably gonna try to go push back into the woods and get off the highway, push back into the woods a little bit, and try to go after one of those birds that we had first light. So we'll see what happens.